Hello, everyone. My name is Janisha Doss, and today I will demonstrate how to create a simple and effective homeschool routine for children. Homeschooling may seem overwhelming at first, but with a clear structure, it becomes manageable and even enjoyable. From my experience homeschooling my children for several years, I learned that consistency matters more than perfection. First, we need to set a consistent daily schedule. When you homeschool, you have a lot of freedom with how you set your day up. For my children, when they were in public school, they weren't getting enough breakfast, they weren't understanding the work. So for me, there were numerous reasons why I chose to homeschool. I only have a GED and a diploma in medical assistant, but I have a heart to teach my children and I had the patience. So what I did was I started with a regular notebook. So depending on how many children you have, even if you have multiple children or just one, just starting with a simple writing their names down. So we'll use Mike, and then we'll use Cheryl. Now, Mike, he's 14. So we know that he needs a different kind of curriculum. And for Cheryl, she's only 7. So what I did was I went through several websites and I found one that covered all of our core subjects, but then it also added on electives, like if you wanted to teach your child Spanish or if you wanted to learn about sewing and different things like that. So for Mike, I thought Khan Academy would be a good website for him to do his work. So what we would do is just something basic. So what time would you like to start your day? If you're like me, I wanted to keep the children on a consistent basis as if they were still going to building school. So we had breakfast between the hours of 7:30 and 8:15. So you can write that down. Breakfast for Mike and Cheryl are between the hours of 7:30 and 8:15. Now it's really simple because it's something that I came up with. It wasn't anyone that gave me any direction. So the point is to find something that works for you and your children. And so our first class after breakfast at 8:15, we give the children enough time to clean off their spots, stretch their legs. And so we have a 15 to 20 minute wind down period. And that is right before you start class. Because we all know that as we finish eating, some of us get sleepy, and having that extra stretching and walking around time, it helps the children and it also helps you. Now, if you are using regular books, for Cheryl, who is age 7, I would shop at Dollar General or Dollar Tree. That store, I found a lot of books from pre-K all the way up until grade 3. And there were math books, there were English books and things like that. So what you would do is take your child with you and look over some books, because nothing is more liberating than including your child in their education. So after we have our wind down period, now we start going into class time scheduling. I am a person who still likes to print out sheets, and I like to incorporate books, and I like to also incorporate outside learning. Remember, this is your homeschool, and you can be as free as you want, or you can be as structured as you want. So after we have our 15 to 20 minute wind down period, now we're going into actual scheduling time. So for our first class, which will be reading, we'll have reading, then we will have math, and then we'll have a snack. So after our wind down period at 9 o'clock, Mike will start his reading. Cheryl, on the other hand, because she's 7, we have a little more less strict. So for Cheryl, she's going to have her reading. Then we'll have creative play. And then we will also have a snack for Cheryl. 9 o'clock to 9:45 will be our reading time. 10 o'clock to 10:45 will be our math / creative play time for Mike and for Cheryl. And then from 10:50 until 11:30, we will do snack time. Now, when I did snack for my children, we always included healthy things that came from my plate. So we know that you're supposed to have a smaller amount of protein. You'll have a larger amount of vegetables, a larger amount of produce. And then, of course, we incorporate our milk, our cheese, our juice, and things like that so that we can keep those same health guidelines. And after we have snack, then we automatically go straight into our English / language arts. And so after we do our final class before we go into lunch period, this is how you can keep track. These are your times and these are your 2 students. Of course, it wouldn't look exactly like this because you could make it however you want. But I chose, after we did snack, we of course have our 15-minute stretch. So from 11:30 to 11:45, we're having a nice little stretch. We're walking around. We're getting those juices flowing. And by the time you get finished stretching, cleaning up your area and your space, it is then lunchtime. So we try to keep the lunch schedule the same, which is pretty much like 11:30 to 12:30. And then I love recess because recess for us is sometimes badminton. It is sometimes just running up and down the street. All of us are exercising together. And sometimes it's just free play because homeschool is meant to have structure, but it's also meant to be fun. You're learning from your children as they're learning from you, and then you're all learning together. So after lunch and after our recess, we return back to class. And the one thing about my homeschooling is that I didn't keep a whole day as if we were still in building school. We had 2 different days out the week for one subject, 2 different days for another set of subjects, and then we would have one day where we spent time just doing what they wanted to do. If there was someone who wanted to learn sewing, my mother helped purchase a sewing machine so that the children could learn sewing. My thing is cooking. So whenever I had the free time at the end of the day, when I was playing the lunch lady or the breakfast lady, I would also discuss ingredients and measurements so we could even find a way to sneak some math in while we're making recipes. And so lunch and recess is over at 1:15. Now this is where you can kind of determine what you want to do with the rest of your day. Some children get restless after they've been in a confined space, even with rest and relaxation and running around and stretching. So you also have to take those things into consideration as well. And so what I did after I got finished with that, and you get your children's input, a lot of the things that I did at the end of the day was more so connecting with the children. If you have one, that's wonderful because the connection is going all day long. But when you have different ages and stages, you have to be mindful that everyone is going to want the teacher's attention. And so finding a way to go over and spend an extra few minutes with Mike, maybe talking about his math, or maybe talking about some of the extracurriculars. You could spend an extra few moments in there with that. And then when it comes to Cheryl, when you're thinking about a 7-year-old, we thinking about somebody who knows what they want to do, but at the same time, they can get restless. So remember to always let it be open for children to walk around, whether it's going to the restroom and things like that, because in building school, they have to get a pass to use the restroom. And the thing I love about homeschooling is the freedom. So when you think about a simple, effective homeschool routine, all you're doing is taking your day, you're planning it out. You're planning your schedules and things like that. If you have a job, make sure that self-care is above everything. Because if you're a teacher to your children, you're an employee to your job, you have to refill the cup. So before we close out, we'll talk about what other kinds of routines you can create. So in my home school, I taught Italian, French, and Spanish. And it was really wonderful because Amazon has different language books and then they come with partner books. So you can learn conversational Italian, you can learn conversational Spanish, and then you can move up from there if you wanted to go into a business and ask about flowers, or if you wanted to go in a restaurant and order food. There's different companion books that you can order from Amazon. And so I just want to share that I use several different avenues. I used Khan Academy. I used Discovery K-12. I also use different sheets that you can print off from teachers educating teachers. And so it's so many websites that you can choose and so many different things. It can start out with a notebook, such as this one, just with your children's names, the dates and times that you want to have certain classes, and then the time for free play or creative play. When you have a homeschool, you can do whatever you want. It's all about learning, bonding, and creating an atmosphere of growth, not only for your children, but for you. I really do hope that it wasn't too confusing for you and that you understood that it's your choice. If you want to teach your children at home, you don't have to have a degree. All you have to have is a passion for learning and patience. And you have to be a lunch lady. You have to wear a lot of hats. So I hope you enjoyed my video, and I hope you've learned something from my homeschooling experience. Thank you.